In order to explain why this film does not work for me, I usually do this beginning segment where it's the original story. But Pocahontas is a little different because it's based off history. Really messed up history, so I'm actually going to give a warning here to skip to the point in the video where you don't see this picture anymore of the real Pocahontas, because it deals on some very dark and depressing subjects. I actually read this story before even doing this. I knew it a bit, but going into detail, I actually cried. That's how bad it is. It's awful, and you're going to figure out why this movie does not work for me at all based off the real-life history of Pocahontas. Pocahontas, whose original name I completely forget now, that's what happens if you don't go off script, was born to the Powhatan tribe to one of the chiefs. Her mother's name was Pocahontas. Her name was not. However, her mom died very early on before she even really knew her, and since Pocahontas was the favorite of her chief, she often called her Pocahontas because she reminded him so much of his former lover. He didn't really have wives. The Native Americans didn't really do that if you're a chief. So Pocahontas was a child when all of a sudden these guys came over on boats from England to make a settlement called Jamestown. Their goal was to make fast money, and they weren't good at farming at all because they were sailors. So they would, of course, go over to the neighboring tribe of the Powhatans and fight with them constantly over land and stuff like that. So far, the story isn't too far off. Pocahontas was only like a kid around this point when she was used as a peace treaty between the two because, you don't want to hit a kid during this stuff. But they became well aware that this girl was very favorited by the dad of the chief there, and they had a good relationship. So, of course, when she was young, she was kidnapped as a bargaining tool. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what about John Smith? He was a good guy. Yeah, John Smith was part of this group. John Smith was an asshole guy. He was an ugly old man who did stuff over there. But his stories weren't that great because he was a bigot, too. So when he went back to England, he wrote a fictionalized story about, the most well-known person of the chief tribe was Pocahontas. This girl's there. I'll write a story about her saving my life and make myself look good. And that's where that came from. So yeah, Disney based the movie off a flat-out lie. So John Smith was not a good guy at all. He was actually heavily involved in mistreatment of the Native Americans there. He wasn't a handsome blonde guy. He was not that at all. He wasn't even blonde. So the movie got that wrong right off the bat. So ignoring that, John Smith's not even important to Pocahontas' story at all, actually, because, like I said, they didn't even really interact if they met at all. He just knew about her. So that's that's strike one for Disney. They fell for his fucking lie that's over hundreds of years old now. So that's bad. So yeah, when Pocahontas was kidnapped she was 12 to 14 years old at this point. Fortunately, they did this a lot to the Native Americans. It's a word that I can't even say on YouTube without this getting demonetized. I probably got demonetized already. Not demonetized, but the yellow dollar sign. Because if I say curse words early on, they'll be like, oh, you can't say that. Ugh. Later on, it's perfectly fine. YouTube makes a whole lot of sense. But yeah, I'm not gonna say this word either way. But it rhymes with grape. Let's just say that. They used to do that a lot, especially since Native Americans wore less clothes, typically, especially during summer months, and they didn't have any women there, so we'll just get our jollies this way, because these guys were just pieces of shit. It was even, they weren't even supposed to do this stuff. In fact, it was condemned to doing stuff in England, but they didn't let them know that, because these guys were rough scallions, and of course, they saw the young Pocahontas, who they kidnapped, just bargained with the chieftain, and they never brought her back, and they continually did that, including a guy named John Rolfe, who, I'm not sure if he did that in particular, but he did marry her after they got rid of her old husband. Yeah, she got married at 14. That's a coming age in Powhatan tradition. Don't ask me, I'm not Powhatan, obviously. But, yeah, I don't know, I'm laughing. This is pretty horrible stuff. So not only that, was she, had, two kids out of the situation. One of the guy who they forcefully married. Her dad wasn't even allowed to be married, be at the wedding, so he sent her a necklace. The only thing that's from the actual film in real life was a necklace. However, it was a pearl necklace in real life. But his dad loved his daughter, but he couldn't see her. So they, of course, were forcing the natives to grow crops for them because they weren't good at it. And they weren't even looking for gold. They were looking for something of value. They were looking for gold, but they really knew that there really wasn't gold in the area, because it's pretty easy to find gold. So that movie is another strike. But they'd find something else that was like gold. It's not black gold, oil. It was, I guess, I think it should have a nickname. Green gold. Tobacco. Tobacco was there, and they knew how to grow it, and they sold that like crazy down in Virginia. And of course, they would genocide and mutilate Native Americans in order to get this cash crop, basically. Now, of course, there's controversy over this Jamestown civilization. So James Rolfe brought Pocahontas, as well as her sister and their son, Thomas Rolfe, all the way back to England to showcase that actually there is no infighting. See, we're perfectly fine together. So yeah, that's one thing. And then on the way back, where they're supposed to go back home, Pocahontas dies. And this is weird because she was 21 years old and in perfect health, but after eating something and throwing up, she dies. So it's most likely speculated that she was purposely killed because they didn't want any more to do with these people who they thought were just vermin, that they were just going to take over their land and crap. And, yeah. Her dad, finding out about this, would actually die of a grief, basically, because he died very shortly after figuring out that his daughter died. Probably because he was old and had already had stress, so most likely a heart attack or stroke. So, that's the life of Pocahontas. Disney decided that they're going to take this horrible example, one of the first examples of the British taking over land that wasn't theirs and genociding people there and abusing them just for crops and stuff like that. Of course, Disney receives a lot of criticism for this, making very dark periods of history into animated films. There's this parody poster that I love so much called Disney's Anne Frank. But you can get what I mean here. They're both horrible things. One happened more recent, one's earlier, but stuff, even the Anastasia thing, which is a different topic, I'm not reviewing that one. But you can see why I'm not a big fan of this, of taking a very dark story and kind of making it bright and colorful. But when it's based off real people, that's a different story. So Disney's Pocahontas is pretty much a history adaptation in name only. But what was the point of this? They took a really depressing real-life story of a person who went for some of the worst things imaginable and made it as generic as possible animated kids flick. Quite possibly, this is the worst thing to adapt. It's just awful. Not only that, this was supposed to be their best animated picture preview. Not the best animated picture, best picture. They thought this was going to win. As I mentioned in my previous review, they thought The Lion King, oh, that was shit. The Pocahontas, that's where it's at. Pocahontas also had one of the worst pitches for a movie ever. So one of the guys took a picture of this character from Peter Pan, Tiger Lily, and it's like, Pocahontas, she goes to get your dad's wishes and likes the English settler. She must mend them two together. That's the fucking pitch. Sorry, whoever pitched that. I'm sure you've done other work that's great. That's why I don't bash anyone named other than Jeffrey Katzenberg and Michael Eisner, because they can take it. They're millionaires. Fuck them. But no, this this is just an awful idea. Even in concept, it's stupid. But they're like, hey, we're working on a Romeo and Juliet idea, so I guess that can work. Yeah, because Pocahontas, we're Romeo and Juliet, obviously. Pocahontas actually is the most generic story. Guy from one world comes to a new world, finds a girl he thinks is hot, and then decides to go the other side, and they must stand together. It's the same story. In fact, it was pretty much ripped off entirely from Dancing with Wolves, which actually has a very similar premise, but it's done way better in that movie than it is in this one. They were like, oh, that movie with a guy falling in love with Native American culture and stuff like that won Best Picture, so maybe we can do it with this one. No, you can't. It's already been done. Despite the goofiness of the film, it still tries to take itself seriously, but fails miserably. There are side character animals, but they don't talk at all, which would be fine, but they still do animal stuff, and they actually add very little because they're mute. If they talk, at least they would interact with the main characters, but they just don't do jack shit, really. So they're kind of pointless. Also, where's the logic of the animals can't talk, but this fucking tree can talk? Like, where do you draw the line? So yeah, the raccoon eats food, and he doesn't have a rivalry with a pug, and that's about it. So you might as well just cut out the film at that point. This sternness about making the film as bland as possible caused one of the co-directors, who was a famous animator known as Eric Goldberg, to actually leave partially during development to work at Chuck Jones' studio. That's how bad the production of this film was. They were also very skeptical about how we portray these Native Americans correctly, because of course they don't have a great history of that. As I talked about in the Peter Pan review, there were some very bad Native American stereotypes and just disgusting. So you think they would do something interesting then? Maybe showcase more of their culture and how it actually worked, especially since there's not a lot of Powhatans anymore. As like I said, a lot of them were killed off by the Jamestown crew. So what do? They barely showcase any of the characters, other than Pocahontas herself. Like, I can name, like, 2 other characters that are barely in the movie. So that's great. Also, they're just as bad as the English guys. See, they're both saying the other side are savages. Oh, aren't we clever? No, you're fucking not. One side was obviously more brilliant than the other. Fuck you, Disney, for doing that. This is also another nitpick of this film, but the pug bothers me. Why? Because he looks like a modern-day pug. If you don't know anything about pug, I'm a dog person, so I'm going to talk about this. But pugs have gone under deformation thanks to humans interbreeding. The left is what a pug should look like. On the right is what pug we got. The one on the right is what's in the movie. Exaggerated a little bit, but you can tell by its flat face that's what it's going for. Obviously, this modern-day pug is actually around 100 years old or less. 50 maybe, at the best, because they've been genetically modifying it. Not genetically modifying, but inbreeding it for this look. So, why it should look like the one on the left, especially if you're going to be a quote-unquote like great film. Okay, what am I saying? Of course they're not going to be historically accurate with this shit. They decided to age up Pocahontas so she can have a steamy relationship with John Smith and make her sexy. I'm not joking about the sexy thing. That's something they said in the behind the scenes. She's 14 years old, guys. Get a fucking break. Fuck you. One of the worst parts of the movie is the villain, Radcliffe. This guy is based on a lot of the evil people who did a lot of bad stuff in the Virginia colony. But the actual Radcliffe wasn't one of them! John Radcliffe in real life, he's not even the main story of Pocahontas because he has nothing to do with her. Was just a basic guy. He was governor there. He tried to make trades with every people. He wasn't one of the weirdos guy. He was actually going to make a trade deal, but then he was like caught and tortured. His skin was peeled and he was killed. This is the guy they're making the villain. A guy who didn't even do anything bad in the colony compared to a lot of the other members. He built a thing when people didn't want him to build a ship or something like that. But that's about it from bad stuff I can see. Like he built something when they should have got more food. Ooh. So now this guy's a villain instead of the other guys because, well, Radcliffe sounds more like a villain's name. Yeah, it does, but you're making a guy in history who didn't do anything villainous, like a fucking evil, cruel villain guy. That's bullshit. Imagine if you're tortured and killed, then your ghost comes back in the afterlife or whatever the fuck happened after you die, who the fuck knows. And you look down and be like, man, I die, but hey, at least no one's going to ruin my legacy here that much. And then years later you see you're a fat fuck dude who's an asshole in a Disney movie, and that's going to be your legacy the rest of your life. Your undead life, I should say. Come the fuck on, Disney. That's just terrible. There were tons of names they could have chose. They chose this one guy who didn't do anything wrong, well, maybe nothing major wrong that I know of, and made him the fucking villain of the movie. Are you fucking kidding me? John Smith's more of a villain than this guy in real life. They made him a fucking hunky hero. Yeah, I'm blonde, and I'm voiced by Mel Gibson. I'm a great guy. No, you're not fucking not. Here's John Smith, by the way. You can see that handsome blonde hair, right? No, you don't see it? That's because he didn't fucking have it. One of the elements that could have made this film better was a character called Red Feather. It was going to be an animal psychic character, but he was going to be voiced by John Candy. As I mentioned in the Rex Down review, if John Candy's in anything, it makes it automatically like 5% better. He's that good. Unfortunately, he passed away, so the character was scrapped entirely, and they got rid of talking animals too, and they're like, this character sucked anyway. It's like, man, it's a turkey. That's cool. I like turkeys. They taste good. I think that's a fun idea. Whatever. Yeah, one of the only good ideas in Pocahontas, they just scrapped. Of course they did. I mean, one I'll admit, of course, they couldn't do it without that one voice actor they're going to get for it, but, you know, whatever. Even the making of the music had a lot of issues. The new lyricist this time working on Alan Menken was the wickedly talented, see what I did there, Stephen Schwartz, who's a great composer and wrote some great Broadway shows, including one maybe just hinted to just there. However, he clashed with Alan Menken due to the fact that they both couldn't write both lyrics and musical scores, though, and Menken not as much lyrics as Schwartz does. But Schwartz usually does everything by himself, so they didn't work too well at first. But however, they finally got in rhythm with the next film. The musical numbers in Pocahontas aren't very good. It feels like there's two clashing elements and toning it down to be part of the bland-as-hell story. While there's a famous musical number, even then I don't think that one's that great. A lot of times it's closer to bad than good, which is shocking because we already know Alan Menken's track record with the other movies. But Stephen Schwartz is also great. In fact, these two, like I said, the next Disney film has the best soundtrack of all time, and they both worked on it together, so what happened here? But I'll talk more about the music during the tier list section. During the making of Pocahontas, Jeffrey Kasberg, my favorite, said, "We got a hit!" He was very confident in this project, and wasn't very confident in the Lion King project. And this wouldn't be the last time he did something like this. In DreamWorks, he also did something very similar. One project's like, oh, that sucks, get my crappy animators over there, but this one's gonna be the great one. And the one that was not the great one ended up being the actual great one. So you guess what happened? Pocahontas did good, but critically, it was panned. The film was Oscar worthy at all. In fact, only won Oscar for the best song, being for Colors of the Wind, obviously. Did not come close to winning that Best Picture nomination. In fact, a lot of critics did not like its historical revisions or its goofy elements that did clash well with their serious nature they're trying to go for. And then painting one guy as the main villain, and that's the only issue here. And the natives also are kind of bad too, which is not all the real history, so fuck them. Not only did The Lion King, which came out a year previously, actually showcase what a great animated film would look like, which I'm not even the biggest fan of Lion King, but it definitely outdoes this one in every single aspect. But it wasn't even the highest grossing animated film of that year. In fact, another Disney project actually ended up being the innovative masterpiece that they want Pocahontas to be, and it affected the animation genre forever. And that film was Toy Story, which is actually one of my favorite films of all time, and one day I'll do a Pixar Marathon and I'll gush over how much I love this movie. Funny enough, Katzenberg didn't think this film was going to be a big hit and actually sabotaged it a bit, and ironically ended up being a way bigger thing than Pocahontas by a landslide. Though at the time it was probably weird because now CGI is taking over. You've seen CGI in 2D anime movies, but now it's the entire film. So the reason I'm mentioning this because Disney will shift into more CGI-based films, mostly due to Toy Story, starting it off in 1995. Especially in comparison when Toy Story was a very well-written film and Pocahontas has, well, this.
Let me see how I do this.
So clearly, I don't like Pocahontas, at all. Pocahontas is a bland film. It has good backgrounds, but the characters feel very limited in what they can do because of all the issues I mentioned earlier. It has an incredibly bland protagonist and side character. The villain is goofy as hell, but we're supposed to take him seriously at the end. It doesn't work at all. Christian Bale was this one character to the right before he was famous. That's kind of neat. That's about it. I'll explain one of the reasons why this film sucks other than the obvious ones. Let's look at Pocahontas' character. Pocahontas is one of the most blandest Disney protagonists of all time. She's a free spirit, I guess, but what does she want? I don't know. She likes animals, I guess, but she only really interacts with 2 of them. And she likes her dad a bit, but not that much compared to the actual real life interaction between the 2. Because in this movie she has daddy issues, of course. Like, oh, I don't want to marry this guy, Dad, because...
Serious.
But when they repeat this line as if it means something. And no, Pocahontas never interacts with this guy. So she doesn't like him because he's serious. Like, this guy sucks because he's serious. And her want song is talking about how the river is changing, but she doesn't even know what she wants, and then she has a dream about an arrow, and that means nothing. I mean, it does mean something, but it's fucking stupid. What she actually wants is John Smith, and that's pretty much it. And then she wants John Smith's people to not attack her people because she wants to be with John Smith. That's it! This makes Kocoum, who's the guy who's too serious, mad, and he died. So in real life, this was actually Pocahontas' first husband, who she had a kid with. And he was actually killed by settlers, much like in the movie, but not by some Christian Bale, good-looking redhead kid. But he was killed because they wanted to kidnap Pocahontas for themselves, and that's why he was murdered. So yeah, I don't know why they got rid of that aspect and made Pocahontas not like him. She obviously did like him, so fuck you, movie. But he deserves to die because he was so serious. He's dead now. Fun fact, Pocahontas and Kocoum's descendant is Wayne Newton of Las Vegas fame. Fun fact for you. So then Pocahontas cries to Grandmother Willow. That's an actual character in this movie, as stupid as it sounds. In case you're wondering, no, there is no talking tree in the Pocahontas story in real life, in case you're fucking wondering. But then she sees a compass. Oh, that's the arrow from my dream! Holy shit! And that means she has to stop the war by making the eagles part of her feet, or something like that. It's stupid as it sounds. And this immediately makes her dad not want to kill the guy as he feels the colors of the wind. Amazing. And now the settlers want to take out the one guy, and they want to make peace with the Powhatans and not do anything evil to them or bad, because that's how history is like in real life. It's not as if we don't know what actually happened in their life. The kids are going to figure this shit out. It's all bullshit. So why would you make a movie about it? It pisses me off! Even Pocahontas' main song, Colors of the Wind, means fucking nothing. It has some fun sequences, but overall the message is, you don't know about nature, dickhead. But in this movie, it showcases that John Smith actually likes exploring. It's explored multiple times. This is the fictional version, not the real-life version. It likes exploring stuff, so why would he not know this shit? You know what I'm talking about, shit? So this song, in that context, doesn't work. It actually works better out of context. You think, oh, there must be some interesting thing going on. But other than him calling the Native American savages, he's not a bigoted character. He's the most generically good guy, white guy in the world. Fuck this movie. The movie sucks so much that one of the main song sequences was cut because it was so fucking boring. During this one sequence, John Smith sings a song about how if I never knew you. It's slow, it's boring, it's bland. It's not awful, but, you know, kids fell asleep during it. That showcases how good it was. The song, its motif is still in the film, even in the end credits, but they cut the actual song from the movie because it's so fucking bland. And yes, I have watched the movie with it, and it does kill the pace for an already bland as hell movie. So one of the songs I do like is Savages, even if it doesn't make historical sense. It sounds good. There is some stupid lyrics here, and I can't believe the guy who wrote the soundtrack for Wicked and Hunchback wrote some of these lines.
They're not like you and me, which means they must be evil.
That's a great lyric. And while it's a cool juxtaposition to see another side rivaling against them, since it's so historically accurate, it's just laughable. It sounds good at least. Uh-oh, the natives are calling the white guys savages. Not that he's a bad voice actor, but I can't get that over that, because he plays a goofy character, and then the end he's supposed to be a serious character, so it doesn't fucking work! Reckless just a hard guy to take seriously, mostly because he sounds like Cogsworth from Beauty and the Beast, because he is. But oh, good boy John Smith saves the life of the chief without blood being there. It's not like Disney couldn't show blood, they just didn't want to, because, uh-oh, it will be too bad for us. So much for that serious film they're trying to go for. They couldn't even fucking show a tiny bit of blood. Just a little bit of blood! So most of the film is just Pocahontas and John Smith doing boring interactions, and then the dumb animal sidekicks who don't add a lot because they can't even talk, doing the stupid shtick, and that's the whole fucking film. This film fucking sucks. Done with it. Bye. Compared to the shitloads of amount of additional media with the other last couple movies we've been watching, you'll be shocked to see that Pocahontas barely has any, because Pocahontas is not a good movie, so of course it has barely any stuff. I think Pocahontas 2, the direct-to-video sequel, actually isn't that bad. It actually is more historically accurate, for the most part, not really. It has John Rolfe being a Pocahontas instead, like in real life. That's something. Pocahontas actually has more interest in this movie, because she's actually trying to save her tribe, as well as learning about this whole new world and exploring it, and also trying to protect animals. So there's actually something for her to do in this movie, so it's better automatically. So yes, a direct-to-video sequel is actually better than the original film. Not Pocahontas 2 is a great movie or anything, but it's better than the fucking actual movie, and that's pathetic. Pocahontas only has one video game, and I actually don't recall her ever being in Kingdom Hearts, so they really showcases how much they like Pocahontas. In fact, this is one of those franchises that actually gets less and less stuff because they're kind of embarrassed at Pocahontas in this day and age. But yeah, there's only one game on the Sega Genesis where it's a slow-moving platform. You can take control of the raccoon guy. His name's Miko, in case you're wondering. And that's pretty much it. It looks interesting, I guess, graphically speaking, but at the same time, I'm not going to be playing this game anytime soon. I was actually going to say that was the only video game, but then I remembered, oh wait, there is this anime storybook. Disney doesn't have it on there, but I know about this because I kept getting ads for all my VHS copies. Kept like, play Pocahontas, your kid will be learning about boats and stuff. I'm sure the anime storybook is actually better than the movie, because the anime storybooks are fun as hell to watch. So, yeah, go play it if you have it. When it comes to Disney Parks, there's basically only one thing for Pocahontas, not counting a walk-around character, because they always have the princess characters, but this is Pocahontas' Indian Village. I don't even like the name of it, because first of all, they're not called Indians, they're called Native Americans, because people from India, in Asia, are called Indians. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I hate that. And it's a misconception that happened since Christopher Columbus was a fucking idiot when he's traveled to the New World, thought, oh, these islands must be India, and this island must be Japan. I'm a fucking idiot. Jeez Louise, people actually like that guy on the conservative side. Fucking conservatives. So this is just a basic playground in Frontierland. It really should be called Pocahontas' Powhatan Village, because that's what the actual Native American people that she was from were called, but what the fuck ever. Get this shit out of my face. If it wasn't for the animation and some a good score, obviously, this movie would have been F tier, but F tier has to have no redeeming qualities in my opinion, so it's an E tier. Plus, Fun, Fancy Free, and Melody Time are worse in my opinion. But Pocahontas is easily the worst film of the Renaissance so far, but it's not even close. This is the only film that will be this low in the coming Renaissance film. There's none of their films in the Renaissance are bad. They're all good, except for Pocahontas. It sucks, and I think I went over in detail why I don't like it. It's a bad historical film, and it's adapting it. Like the way they did, it's just insulting in general. they shouldn't have done it. No, it would have been better if they actually took a Native American story, like a folk tale, like they do usually, and make a story out of that. In fact, there's an old Disney film they're actually going to make based off a Native American folk story, which would have been way cooler to see because you can actually adapt that in interesting ways and actually make it creative. If you change it up and like in real life history, it's just fucking weird as shit. Especially if you see, wait, why would they do that? Why would they make this one random guy who didn't do anything wrong a fucking evil villain? Why would they make a guy who's actually an evil villain in real life a handsome good guy? I don't fucking know what they were thinking. John Radcliffe is near the bottom of the Disney villain ranking. He's not the absolute worst. But, you know, I like his voice actor, even if his voice actor is distracting me because it's just, why is Cogsworth why is he evil now? Oh well, his psychic is kind of funny. The guy he says some funny lines. He only has like 5 lines in the movie, but you know, whatever. As for the princesses, Pocahontas goes in the C tier. C tier is for the bland characters, in case you're wondering, in the princess tier list. Not awful, but so... She might even go Lord and Aurora now that I think about it. Like, fuck her. No, not really. Don't fuck her, but... oh my god, I can't believe I've said that. Whatever. So, we're back to E tier, unfortunately, for the song ranking, which sucks, because we haven't been down here in a while. So, it sucks to be all the way back down here again. But, yeah, we got one song in E tier. Listen with your heart, because you will understand. The stupid Grandmother Willow sings this song. I didn't even mention this during the review part, but for some reason, they're like, what if they all care to speak English? But there's one scene where John Smith first meets Pocahontas. They're like, oh, she speaks a different language. All of a sudden, like, okay, it's like, you don't understand me. And then all of a sudden, the song plays again. It's a little motif of it, and he's just like, she listens to her heart, and she just speaks English. They're like, wow, she speaks English. The raccoon like opens his jaw, and it's like. And that's the only time it's mentioned again. Like, what the fuck was the point of that? Like, they talk to them again, like, later on, like, I'm pretty sure they do, and they're all speaking to each other, like, there's no language barrier. So what was the point of bringing it up in the first place for this one stupid scene? It's stupid because, as an audience, it makes no sense because the whole time Pocahontas from beginning to end is speaking English for this one little scene, so it makes no fucking sense. Now, apparently, originally they were going to have them speak a different language, which would have been too much, I guess, for the little kiddies there, so they changed it. They should just scrap that scene entirely, because one, doesn't add anything, it's stupid as hell. Oh, it's so fucking dumb! God, this movie pissed me off. Alright, so now we're in the D tier. We got Steady as a Beating Drum. It's steadily fucking boring as hell. That's all I can say about that song. Then the Virginia Company, which they sing about gold. There's this movie is a session with gold. Like I said, they were looking for like riches to make themselves rich, obviously. And they did look for gold, obviously, but they didn't think it was going to be that hot up north. And they did test it, which they don't even get gold like they do in real life, because you could go to the waters and skim for it and stuff like that. They just dig in random spots. Like, these guys are fucking idiots. Of course, like I mentioned, the cash crop that became a bit more valuable than gold to them was tobacco, but they don't even fucking mention that in the movie. Ugh, never mind. Mine. This song is only this high because I actually like the John Smith part, believe it or not. That part I like, but it's still kind of bad and probably should be ranked lower, but it kind of works. And then If I Never Knew You, which is just fine, but in the movie it's so bland if you watch it because they don't do anything interesting with it. It's sung nice, I guess. That's why it's not ranked low, but it's not good either. Just Around the River Bend is alright, which is why it's in mid C tier. The voice actress for Pocahontas can sing very well, and that's probably the reason why it's there. It's energetic, but near the end it just slows down to like a hole, and that fucks it up pretty bad. If it had the more consistent pace, I would think it would have been better, but whatever. And then we got the two songs that actually are the best ones, and they're in B tier. This is Alan Menken's score, and Stephen Schwartz. This should be a lot higher. In fact, they both worked on the same movie next time, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and you're going to see a lot of S tier songs there. So I don't know if they just had like a rough time starting out and they worked better the next time around, or what, but whatever. Colors of the Wind, I already mentioned my problems with that song, and that it's one of the songs I like when you first hear it, but it doesn't get as good as it goes on. B tier is still pretty high, I feel like, for it, but yeah. And Savage, I just like the way it sounds. It's written well, for the most part. It has some weird lyrical choices, but that's more on the terrible writing of the film, more so than the actual lyrics in general, because they're forced to write that stupid shit in there. But whatever. It sounds good, and that's all that matters. That's Pocahontas. So yeah, next time we're talking about one of my favorite Disney pictures, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I'll see you then.